This is Nachum Winkler. I met Rabbi Kimmel about a year ago, and my wife had gone to him, and I have to tell you, this can go to the internet, this can go to any place in this universe. Anybody with anything should just spend time with this Rabbi Kimmel, Rabbi Yitzchak Kimmel, because he really is Rabbi Yitzchak ben Sarah. He is a ben Sarah. He is light, he is joy, he is chizuk, he is pure, unadulterated love, kedusha, and tahara. He gives every last ounce of his energy to people. Each one he sees is his most important person. When I walk into him, my heart jumps, I light up. When I leave, no matter what was on my heart, whether it was about me or a patient or any of my children, I know I have someone whose tikkunim work. I know for a fact they work. I know someone who is helping me in my avodas Hashem. I know someone who I have the privilege of learning with and davening with at 5:30 in the morning on a Friday morning, and then after that I have a full day of work. It's hard, but when he walks in, it's just like I'm breathing pure oxygen. Just to be around him, just to watch him in davening. He doesn't have to move. He just has to give you that smile.
I feel like he chaps you right away. Like
what comes out of his mouth is clearly Ruach HaKodesh. He has a gift. He works very hard at it. He develops it. He is the most sensitive, and it's so wonderful. In my life, I've been privileged to grow up with great Talmidei Chachamim, Gedolei Hador in the family, and I've seen many Mekubalim. It is wonderful to talk English to a Mekubal and to help him understand the nuances of different issues. And he always does. And I can't say enough about Rabbi Kimmel.
You know, there are a lot of people out there with abilities, or kochos, or whatever you call them, but they're not such good people. So when I first met Rabbi Kimmel, I could tell you he shined above all of the others.
You know, I just want to point out that because of Rabbi Kimmel, things that I knew were important, that everybody knows are important, but never really took seriously because we don't understand the depth and their effect on our neshamas and on our mazel and overall things like basic things like Tehillim, davening with a minyan, Mishnayos, a very big thing for Rabbi Kimmel. Things like that, you know, I've become more acutely aware of how important they are. And my life, as such, has improved in ways which I can't even describe.
Now I go to him once a month.
Right.
I just make a point to come visit, just check in with him. You know, I'll come if there's something urgent pops up. I will come also, but I generally schedule just a monthly check in with him. Absolutely, there have been times where I walk in and he knows, like he shows me that he knows exactly what's going on. There's no way, we don't have the same friends, we don't move in the same circles. There's no way that he knows things about what's going on in my life, what's going on in my innermost thoughts. He doesn't, I wouldn't even have told my best friend certain things, and he knows them. He knows things about, say, a grandparent that nobody here knows, nobody knew. They've been long gone from this world, and, you know, he's able to pinpoint with accuracy certain things. I mean, some people would call that heebie-jeebie, or some people get very scared by that. I would say to those people not to get scared by this, because the rabbi, he's not threatening in any way. Yes, he will know these things, but he also has the sensitivity to know that if you're going to get freaked out, he's probably not going to, you know, show off and say this stuff. You know, he doesn't need to show these things. What he's really here for, and what I've found over the years, he is the world's best coach at strengthening an individual's relationship with Hashem.
Well, when I first went to Rabbi Kimmel, I was scared to death because here I was very uneducated in the world of Judaism. I expected to see somebody that was going to be with a long white beard and a coat in the temple, and I didn't know what to say or what to do. And I wind up going to where's it, Flatbush? Brooklyn, to Avenue, 29th Street, to a walk-up 6-story thing, and I walk into his office, and I think I'm in the wrong place. And everybody was warm. Avram and Elke, they were wonderful. And then I went into Rabbi Kimmel, and he shook my hand, and brings tears to my eyes. I'm sorry. This is very painful. When I met him, he looked at me, and he knew I was very troubled. And he said, I see what you're going through. And he said, I think I can help you. And he talked to me, and he talked in a way that nobody ever spoke to me before. And from that point on, he said, he gave me tefillin, which I never used since I was 13, because I thought I'd choke myself with it, because I forgot how to use it. He gave me a talis, he gave me the 2 prayer books, and he said, I think you're ready for this. He showed me day one how to use the tefillin, how to use it, what to do with the talis, what prayers to say. And from that point on, I've been seeing him regularly for 2 years, and I can't tell you how he's changed my life.
I can't say enough about Rabbi Kimmel. Since I've met him, I have begun to learn to daven again. And my davening has changed, thank God. And I really know that the looking forward to Shabbos through him has become a wonderful, wonderful avodah. And he just knows how to be a father, a brother, a mother too. And this is Rabbi Kimmel.
That story goes like this. I have firsthand knowledge of all of this. The get story is this girl gets married, and it's not what, it was a quick thing, it was a pressured thing. She was getting older, and she married somebody without going to see Rabbi Kimmel first. And, that is what it is. So come to find out, 3 rabbis within a few weeks, 3 rabbis tell her, you really need to get this. It wasn't okay. Like, she just couldn't stay in there. The guy goes and disappears. So then, this is an impossible case. He's disappeared. He's, what's going to happen? So I know that, Rabbi Kimmel comes in, and she talks to Rabbi Kimmel. Rabbi Kimmel, without ever having met this man, he sees the name, and he started to imitate the man who disappeared, who was not giving a get. He imitated him. He started saying things that the guy used to say. It was a little freaky. Yet he kind of, I don't know how he did it. He zoned in on what this man's mentality was at the time. He was able to look at, I don't know how he was able to do it, but he was able to see the different players in the story. And he guided this girl, say this to this person, do this to this person, and then come back and talk to me. And then once he got that information, okay, now do this and say this and this. And somehow or another, the Beis Din involved in this really had given up hope.
Was they didn't think this guy was going to give the divorce?
No,
yeah.
This Rav had been doing Gittin for 40 years, and to this day, he will talk. If somebody that is familiar with the case, I know there's another rabbi that I know, who every time this Av Beis Din sees this rabbi, tells him he gets goosebumps when he thinks about this case, and how everybody was so shocked when the man finally was brought through the door. And it really is 100%. I know the case. Without Rabbi Kimmel's advice, and without his being able to hone in and see whatever it was he was seeing, and without the advice, there's no way Seichel alone would have gotten that get.
Crazy things have happened. I mean,
Crazy good things.
The first time, I needed, it was a financial thing. I was taking a financial hit on something. whenever, I won't get into specifics, but there was a time that I was working on something and I was taking a financial hit because it's a product that you have to sell. And came to Rabbi Kimmel and I said, Rabbi, I've had all this money. I need some type of idea. Give me an eitzah. He says, you'll be okay. Just say this to him. Don't worry about it. You'll be okay. How long should I do it for? 3 weeks, 4 weeks. Not a week into it. It completely turns around. Not only did I not have to run after, to try to sell this product, someone came to me and says, oh, I heard you're working on the product, let me take it. It's just something so interesting that you don't really expect certain things to happen. And that was just like the tip of the iceberg, just the tip of the iceberg.
As I walked in, I was a little bit skeptical. They told me about that he reads into your existence, for less lack of better word. I was a little bit skeptical, so I asked to go in first.
Right.
All I did is I wrote down my name and my mother's name, and I was called in. I was seated right next to the rabbi, and I think before I even sat down, he told me that he wants to see my tefillin. So I responded that my tefillin was checked just about before the Yom Tov, last Yom Tovs, and by a sofer, and it was good. And he says to me, I didn't say it's not good. He said, I see something that might be a problem in a tagim. He said, and he asked me to bring him in, and he told his helper, his assistant, that when I bring the tefillin in, he wants to personally look at them before he goes to the sofer.
Right.
And sure enough, I brought my tefillin in, and sure enough, in the tagim, there was two tagims that were facing the wrong way. They were leaning the wrong way. He also showed it to me because the Xerox did, and they showed me where it was leaning the wrong way. And after that, we got into a conversation. And the next question he asked me, he says, how come you're not praying in a minyan?
Right.
And at this point, I almost fell off my seat. I just looked at him and I didn't know how to respond. But I started telling him that there was a reason why I stopped going for praying in a minyan. It was for a while that I was praying alone at home. And he told me that I have special powers in my prayers and I have to pray them in a minyan. I have to pray in a minyan. And he says to me, and he held up his finger. I said, but this time when you go to pray in a minyan, he says, no arguments. And the reason I stopped going to this minyan, because there was constantly arguments about their politics and leftists and righties, and I got tired of that. And he zeroed in right on it. And I was just like, did somebody tell him about me? I was wondering what's going on. And he says to me, this time when you come in, he says, you say good morning, you go in, and you pray in your own speed. They pray fast, you pray in your own speed. They pray slow, you pray in your own speed. You finish, you pack up your stuff, you say goodbye, you leave. No politics talking. Again, he zeroed in right on what was happening. I was stunned. I couldn't speak at that point because I was almost like my life is a ritual.
Right.
And then he goes to me and he says, who introduced you to your mate? And at this point I was just like, how do you know I have a mate? How do you know that I'm not married? How do you know anything? How do you know? And I proceeded to answer. I said, well, a friend introduced me. And this is what really happened. A friend stopped me in the middle of the street, asked me if I want to meet somebody special, and this is what, and he goes like this, he says, no, he says, your parents arranged it. Your friend was just a shaliach. I was floored. Because first of all, how do you know my friends are up there?
Right.
How do you know my parents are not there? It just totally threw me to a loop. We talked about business. He was on a point about what I feel inside, about how things should be running and what is it I'm leaning to, and so on. I was just totally taken. Totally taken. And then just before the end, he's like, looking at me and says to me, and why aren't you getting married? So I remember I looked at him with a smile and I just said, chicken. And he smiled and he says to me, you're getting married. He said, you can keep being chicken. He said, you're getting married. You don't even know it yet. He actually was the reason that motivated me and my wife to get married. We were both in a relationship for over 10 years. We were very comfortable in that. And his energies, his push, his whatever, made us think about it, and we decided, well, this is what we're going to do. We got married. Baruch Hashem, we're living a very good life together. We have a very good relationship. We're happy. We're forever grateful for him. I mean, he became like...
It was a very good step up for you to get married.
Can I tell you a really weird story?
Yes.
This is a funny story. Okay. So I used to... I wash Nagelwasser after using the restroom, and I'm careful about that. So I used to work in Manhattan in an office building. And I had my washing cup in the office building. The whole floor shared like a ladies' room and whatever. So in the ladies' room on my floor, I had a washing cup under the sink, and I just used to pull it out and use it. People on my floor knew, this is what I did. So there was one time I came in to see Rabbi Kimmel, and it so happens that he didn't know this, and who cares? I never even mentioned it to people. The bathrooms on my floor, my building, were being renovated. So I had to go up or down 2 flights of stairs because they were doing 2 floors or 3 floors at a time. I had to use the 11th floor, okay, the bathroom there. And I didn't know the people, and the bathroom was wide open. It wasn't set up the way my floor's bathroom was set up. So I felt kind of funny about bringing a big plastic washing cup with me every time I went to the bathroom. So I just, I had learned that you can turn the water off and on, and that's halakhically it's permissible, and you can do that.
That's the second choice.
That's the second choice. So that's what I had been doing for I'd say it was about 3 weeks. And I came in to see Rabbi Kimmel, and I came in, hello, how are you, whatever. And he looks at me and he goes like this. He goes, "What's with you in Nagelwasser? You used to be so good about this. What are you doing now? What's gone into you?" So I said, "What are you talking about? Of course I wash." He goes, and I said, "Oh, the bathroom floors on my building." So I explained to him I was using the different floors bathroom, and that I was turning off the sink off and on, off and on. And he said, "That's it," because he saw that my hands were different. He said, "I see it on your hands. My hands are no different. I'm sure it's all Baruchni, and I don't understand these things." And he did say, halakhically, whatever, what your Rav told you could do this, it's one thing. But al pi sod, you really should try to bring a cup with you.
That's funny.
So he saw on my hands, and so I asked him, I said, people that don't do this, because he sees it on them, like he can tell. I don't know how he does this.
Well, that's something. There's no way for anyone to tell that. That's a perfect example.
Yeah, but it was a really cute story. And of course, he didn't make me feel bad. He's just like, "I know you. What's gotten into you?" It was very funny.
A specific story that I heard from someone who told me that his wife was, I think, 8 months pregnant, and she was in a lot of pain. So they went to the hospital. She spent a lot of time in the hospital over this particular pregnancy, and he calls up Rabbi Kimmel one day, the husband, and says, "Rabbi, I'm in the hospital with my wife. She's in crazy pain. I need a bracha. What should I do?" He says, "Well, calm down, and whatever you do, just make sure that the doctor gives you a sonogram. Just make sure the doctors give you an emergency sonogram." "Well, Rabbi, I can't make them crazy. I'm in the hospital. You can't just ask the doctor for a sonogram. They come when they come and whatever." He says, "Whatever you do, just make sure they get a sonogram. Say this to him, make the sonogram, everything will be okay, just Damat Hashem. Just make sure they get the sonogram." And he, very reluctantly went crazy in the hospital and made the doctors come and do a sonogram. And as this expecting mother is sort of in like preterm labor, she's in massive pain, and they do a sonogram, and they realize that as she's in labor and she's sort of pushing without really pushing, the umbilical cord is wrapped around the baby's neck. And on the spot, they did like an emergency C-section, and the baby turned out to be fine. But, if the rabbi didn't calm down the father and give the father an eitzah and said, listen, just tell them to do this. No one wants a screaming father running around the hospital. I'm scared. Come, give a sonogram. A sonogram is a very simple thing to do. Excuse me. As far as I'm concerned, Rabbi Kimmel saved that baby's life, which is, just one life, right?
Yeah, he knew that something had to be looked at. Obviously,
he had to know something that no one else knew.
I'll tell you, I got married recently, and I had been waiting a long time, and there are a lot of single girls out there that give up hope or get bitter. And it's so understandable. And I really, at one point, had just said, okay, so this is my fate, and I'll keep trying my stylist, Rabbi Kimmel. Without him kind of guiding me, I don't know if I would have ever gotten married.
Well, that's a fantastic.
I really,
yeah.
I would tell you from the fact that he knew who my husband was after I brought his name to him. He realized he knew him. He said, "No, you really should marry him." But I would have married him anyway, maybe, but it would have taken a lot longer. And he was able to take the two of us and kind of cut to the chase. And in a very rational manner, too. Like, it wasn't all heebie-jeebie stuff. We were like, okay, you know what? We'll just get married now. That's good. And it's honestly, I couldn't have asked for better.
Someone once contacted me. They have a mind. I don't know if people read the newsletters, but, I could attest to this story personally. And someone said, hey, listen, Rabbi Kimmel seems to, know what he's talking about, right? I'm a little arrogant about it. And, let's test him. So you can test Rabbi Kimmel. He's Rabbi Kimmel. You don't test the rabbi. He says, well, let's see. Okay, So I come sitting right here in this chair, and I went to the rabbi and I said, listen, here's the situation. These people own all this land, and, they seem to have, lots of gold. Where should they look? We're talking about 40,000 acres of land. It's,
where is the gold?
Where's the gold?
Yeah.
And I'm sitting right here, and I still have the papers, and he just starts circling different parts of this, rugged map. And at the one spot, he circles and X's and circles and X's. He says, this is the place. This is where they are now. But this is the place that they're going to see a tremendous amount of mazim. So I run right back to my office, which was a block away at the time, and I faxed this map to this person on the West Coast, and he calls me up. 2 seconds later, he says, Shlomi, how does he know? How did he know? We are there, and we're seeing a tremendous mazel. I said, no, but that's not even where he said the big stuff is. So they went a few months later to do, testing, to do like jewel testing, and they found more concentrated gold and silver there than in any other places that they tested, and they just can't get there physically. It's just hard, It's a very hard business, the mining business. But that's how do you know? How do you know? He made it up. This is physical. Something physical. It's not that someone's coming to you and saying, tomorrow you're going to tie your right shoe before your left shoe when you should tie your left shoe before your right shoe. This is not like a guess. It's not an educated guess. This is 40,000 acres. Throw a dart in the middle of 40,000 acres, and this is where it is. And that's a little...
That's pretty good.
I would say so.
Now, that's something that can't be a natural thing. I mean, I can't tell you what gold is.
This is not in our country. This is not, he's never seen the map before. He doesn't know these people from beforehand. I just came as a shliach to, just ask, and he knew. How did he know? It's a coincidence. There are no coincidences in Yiddishkeit. In Judaism, there's no coincidences. There are people that are connected to HaKadosh Baruch Hu, and are here to help us connect to HaKadosh Baruch Hu, and that's their job. And every person that walks in here, I believe, walks out of here with that.
When I was dating, he was able to just... I didn't even have to... Here's an example. One fellow I went on some dates with didn't want to give me his mother's name, because he knew I was going to, ask Rabbi Kimmel after X amount of dates. So I came into Rabbi Kimmel, and he starts laughing. He goes, yeah, he doesn't want to give you, he knew. I said, yeah, he goes, I don't need his mother's name to see him. I don't even need his name. And he started describing to me physically what the fellow looked like and what his personality was, and even some funny, little repetitive jokes or sayings that the guy would make. He imitated the guy in front of me. And then he said, not only that, I can tell you his mother looks like this, and she's got he described his mother's attitude. Right. He described his mother's appearance and her, even down to her smile. She had a very pretty smile with a lot of teeth. And he even described that. He even told me his mother has arthritis in her neck. Now, come on, he didn't even know the guy. He didn't even know his name.
Never saw him even, yeah, that's funny.
Go figure. These are the things, for me, I take it for granted. I don't need to be convinced.
Did he seem to know things about you that were impossible to know otherwise?
Yes. He took that piece of paper with my name and my wife's name and my mother's name, and he holds it up, and I don't know what he sees on that paper, but it amazes me how he closes his eyes and he starts telling you things about what you're going through and who you are as a person and things you need to do. And he even tells me things. I had a new employee here that he knew nothing about. And I went there, and in the middle of the conversation, he says to me, how's your new employee? And I go, what new employee? He says, the new employee that just started working for you. She's a young girl, and she works in the back, and she's very quiet. And I didn't even remember. And I said, yes, I just did hire someone. How'd you know that? And he said to me, I'll tell you something else. She's going to be leaving you the end of August to go to school. And I said, no. She said, that's not true. She said she's going to be with me all year long. The end of August comes. She comes up to me. She says, Dr. Valens, I have to leave. I'm going to school. So, these are things that he does that blows you out of the water. And
every person that walks in here, I believe, walks out of here with that.
You've seen it? You've seen people walk in and out?
It's interesting. I'm sure if anyone's watching this that has been in the office, and you sit outside in the waiting room, and you sometimes you see newbies. You see people who have never been to Rabbi Kimmel before. They have no idea what to expect, and they walk out, and they're just they're pale. What just happened? Not that Rabbi Kimmel is a scary person in any stretch of the imagination. He's actually one of the most friendly people you could possibly meet. But it's just, what just happened? How did he just know that? And it's just, I remember the first time that happened to me, that mindset hit me what just happened there? And it's just awe-inspiring to continue to see it every time you come. And because every single time you come, you see someone new, not one person, you see a dozen people a day that come. It's really incredible. Different types of people that are coming from, all different walks of life that are coming for a little hadracha, a little bracha. People that need the bracha or needs a taiva, or just people that just want to work on the Yiddishkeit, and they want a little bit more of a connection, a deeper understanding of themselves and what their ticket in life can be, and their tachlis in this world. And they all come to Rabbi Kimmel.
He knew where I came from, what I was struggling with, what I needed to do for Avodas Hashem, what I needed to do for my own growth, what I needed to work on, what I needed to correct, and where I've been.
Without you telling
you. Not one word.
And your wife felt the same way, obviously.
100%. I have sent many people to Rabbi Kimmel. No one has ever been disappointed. The only disappointment is they can't spend enough time with him. It's a Ruach HaKodesh. There's nothing normal about it. But he's a very balanced person. He's not an extremist. He just has a gift that Kadosh Baruch Hu gave him because of who he is, and he works very hard to keep this gift, to be pure and to be holy. It doesn't come just like this. It comes, it's his, but he works very hard at it to maintain it. It's very hard for him. He sees a lot of people, and his heart hurts for everybody, but his tikkunim really work.
The point is that, of course, you should leave no stone unturned, and one such stone is is these ruchnistic things that you really don't have any knowledge of, or no power to change, or at least to get answers until you go to somebody like Rabbi Kimmel.
Sometimes he looks in my eyes and he goes in my body. And I'm trying to say, get out of there. But he's actually in me. And it really freaks me out. But the energy and power in the room where he is a presence in there that is, you can't describe. You know, there is definitely something or someone in that room that is really, you can't put a finger on it. But you just know that he's connected. And don't get me wrong, I'm a man of science, and I still have doubts at times, but every time I go there, he just takes those doubts and they go washing away.
Well, could he fake this in any way? Is there any trick that he could do?
No, there's no way he can fake it. But he's never off with who you are and who you need to be and where you need to go. So the real important things, he's right on the money all the time. He's a very caring, loving, regular guy. He's like one of the guys, you know, one of the guys you can just meet in a bar and have a conversation with. I mean, that's who he is. He just puts you at ease all the time.
But yet, you don't feel spooky that he knows all these things?
No more.
Yeah.
Rabbi Kimmel is in a place that people wouldn't expect him to be. Physically, he's in New York, he's in America. Like, I don't know how many people expect to find like such a holy Jew sitting out, you know, in Brooklyn. You know, you expect someone to be like, you know, tucked away in Sfas or somewhere in Eretz Yisrael, you know, but he's here, and he's here for a reason.
Well, what my talents are, he read right into that. And again, it's like almost like he's looking at you. Your life is exposed. Your life is exposed. He can reach into every little corner in your life that you didn't feel anybody noticed that, and he immediately focused right on it.
Well, you know, like you, before you went in, you were very, very skeptical.
Yes, right.
So if you would, and yet once you walked in, within a minute or two, he was telling you didn't even say a word.
I didn't even say, other than saying hello, I didn't even open my mouth. And right away, it's one after another. I mean, I got facts in my face. I mean, facts that, how do you know? I've never been in this area. Never met you. Never seen anybody in the office. Nobody knows me.
Right. What would you actually tell someone if you told someone about Rabbi Kimmel and the guy would say to you, "I can't. It's not true. Nobody could do that." What would you say?
I tell everybody about Rabbi Kimmel. I tell everybody about it. It's just like everywhere I go, and this comes up. I mean, right away, Rabbi Kimmel is my story.
Right.
Rabbi Kimmel is my story. First of all, he has changed my life. He really has changed my life. Because of him, I went to a more moved out Filin. Because of him, I did a lot of things. Because of him, I got married. Because of him, I'm happy in my marriage. I mean, because of him, he did a lot of changes in my life. As soon as my wife mentioned that she can go to see Rabbi Kimmel, I'm in. I'm going with you.
I know you went to Eretz Yisrael even with Rabbi Kimmel.
That's correct.
Yeah. Did you ever go with him to Rabbi Alfasi?
We went Rabbi Alfasi. I knew Rabbi Alfasi before I knew Rabbi Kimmel.
Oh, right.
And I went to Rabbi Alfasi, and I asked Rabbi Alfasi, can I go to Rabbi Kimmel, since I used to go to Rabbi Alfasi.
Right.
And Rabbi Alfasi says I should go to him, and I will be able to continue all my good things that I need to get done.
So Rabbi Alfasi endorsed Rabbi Kimmel.
Rabbi Alfasi endorsed Rabbi Kimmel.
And he knew him well. You think Rabbi Alfasi knew Rabbi Kimmel?
If Rabbi Alfasi would not tell me to do anything without knowing 100%. I spoke to Rabbi Alfasi every single month on the month.
So Rabbi Alfasi told you straight out.
Rabbi Alfasi told me to go straight out, and he told me to do it, and I wouldn't question it. When we went to Eretz Yisrael, the Rebbetzin Alfasi gave him his tefillin, and he put it on his head, and it was perfect.
So you actually were there.
I was there when they gave him the tefillin from Rabbi Alfasi.
So you were there when Rabbanit Alfasi herself
correct.
Gave the tefillin to Rabbi Kimmel.
That's correct.
So there was a relationship between Rabbanit Alfasi and Rabbi Kimmel also.
Yes.
Any of the children also with the
the children were very close to Rabbi Alfasi. They spoke to him, they confided in him, and they took him on like a family member.
They took Rabbi Kimmel
on like a family member.
So I think it was the second trip in Eretz Yisrael. Rabbi Yitzchak called his Rebbe at that time, Rabbi Alfasi.
Yeah.
And he said to me, Shmuley, we got to go. We're in Yerushalayim. First thing we got to Yerushalayim, we finished davening with Belt. He says, I want to go visit my Rebbe. So we called him up, we tracked down his number, he told us where he was living. And I don't know how well you knew Rav Fassi. I didn't know him very well.
Pretty well, fairly well.
But I knew that at that time he was sick. He was very sick. It was already, it wasn't the year he was nifter. I think it was 2 years before.
Right.
I believe so.
He had some issue with the kidneys, I think.
I think he had cancer. I mean, he was very schwach. He was very schwach. And it's funny though, because when Rabbi Yitzchak called him, we weren't sure where we knew he lived in Yerushalayim and I think it was one of the remotes. But I remember coming down the road to his house. I remember we were driving down the street, and he was standing by the door waiting for us. I mean, the Rabbi Yitzchak says, "Okay, we're in the neighborhood. I'm coming." This is a person that had no strength. I mean, his koyach was limited. He was sick, and at that time he was sick, and he was standing at the door waiting to greet Rabbi Yitzchak. And to me, it was an awe. I mean, you know, someone's coming. Like Moshe, I kept you downstairs waiting for 5 minutes, right?
Right.
It's normal. The guy, you're busy at the door. It's also weird for a Rebbe to be by the door waiting to greet a Talmud. So to me, my personal impression was tremendous. So we walked Rabbi Yitzchak to the door, and Rabbi Yitzchak went in. We didn't go in, me and Dovi, we stayed outside. And it was like the craziest thing, because, I mean, we were tired, we were exhausted. Our whole trips are usually, high intensity, not too much sleep. But this was the beginning leg of the trip.
Right.
And I remember I fell into like a crazy daze in the car and just fell asleep. I don't know how long it was, if it was a half hour or whatever. Me and my brother just both fell asleep. And then after, Rabbi Yitzchak came out to bring us in to get a bracha. So, Rav Fassi sits us back down at the table, and he sat me and he sat Dovi on the other side. Rabbi Yitzchak was there, and he said to me, he says, "Oh, so you married?" I says, "Yeah, Baruch Hashem. You have kids?" Yeah. He poured me some of his arak that he still has from Baba Sali.
From Baba Sali, that he doesn't take it out for anybody.
Right. So he poured us some of his arak, and he said, I think he said that this is from the. And he gave it. We made a shahakal, and he gave us a very simple, easygoing bracha, like nothing, like he wasn't reading into us, it's not like we were there, like I went, like some people come to Rebbe. I'm used to seeing what people do to him, like they're challenging him, they're expecting him to tell him what they ate for breakfast 3 weeks ago.
Right.
It was simple. Oh, are you married? Do you have children? A husband? So, okay. And then so after we were leaving, I turned to him, I says, "Can Rebbe give me a bracha?" Because it was very nonchalant. He wasn't yet going into, it was very soft-spoken and easy. So I remember with his two hands, he turned to Rabbi Yitzchak, and he goes like this, and he goes, "You have the bracha." As if he pointed to Rebbe and said, "That's your bracha. Let's go." And then he finished the sermon, and we left. And I remember, when we were sitting at his table, it's like, sometimes when you get too close to Rebbe by tikkunim, your head starts spinning.
Right.
That was the feeling in the room.
Well, you're getting it doubled.
Yeah, it was. But and that was one of the first times. That was like my second trip to Eretz Yisrael with Rebbe, and Baruch Hashem, from then on, my relationship built, and the foundation was so strong for me. That's why it's like hard for me to give out stories or sometimes you'll ask somebody else. For me, it's all one. It's life. It's not anymore. It's not anymore like question answer or feelings.
You're moving up.
It's part of I remember to me also one of the things that drew me emistic was the subtleness that he tries to improve people, never in crazy drastic ways. Where Rebbe, you ask him for a bracha, maybe you should try learning for 15 minutes a day. 15 minutes a day. So I remember that, it wasn't, in the beginning, it was a lot easier to get in. So between my first visit and my second visit, because I was dealing with somebody in the family at that time,
right,
that I was constantly, I was nudging him, I know that. So he asked me, "So how's the learning going?" So I said, yeah, Baruch Hashem. So he said, "But you missed 3 days this week."
Right, that's right.
So that was direct key, I know exactly what's going on.
He would describe things about him. I never saw my father a Muslim. He would describe things about them, or say things about them that he would never know because he never saw them.
Right.
And he was right about them.
But he was 100% right, as if he did know them.
Right.
See, because this is something that almost everyone says, that he just, it's normal to expect to see that
that he knows everything, right?
Right, that is an amazing thing. I mean, that's not something. Have you ever seen anyone else in his range that good that could do that?
So I believe one Rebbe. I'm Bashem and I Rebbe.
Okay, hi, my name is Israel Ruft. 2008, December, was a very, very tough time. Actually, end of November, I was working for a company, and I was in a very bad situation. I knew that I was going to get laid off. My boss was really, he was very, very bad to me, more than anybody else, and I just didn't know how to deal with it. So my friend, who also went to Rabbi Yitzchak, was pushing me to go see him, and I kept on pushing it off and off and off, but finally I was compelled to go see him because I was at my wit's end. I knew I was going to lose my job. So I walked in, and I was a little bit nervous in the beginning because I figured maybe I've done this affair, that affair, I'll walk in, he'll see right through me, he'll tell me that I'm a terrible person. So I just said, you know what, let me go in, let me see what happens. The opposite was the truth. I walked in, he made me feel calm right away. Even before he even started saying anything, I felt as if I had this huge burden lifted off my shoulders. He told me that it would be a rough ride, but that I would make it and I'd get out of it. And he told me to do certain tikkunim, and I started doing it. And as he said, it was a rough ride, but when it did happen, I wasn't as broken as I thought I would be. I was hurt, but it wasn't as bad.
You were prepared for it.
Prepared for it. But again, it was very, very difficult. But Baruch Hashem, within 3 months, I found something else, and it was miraculous, the whole story, because I was given a very, very good severance package that lasted me to the day. As soon as I started my other job, that severance package stopped, and there was no gap in income at all, so which was amazing. Okay, so I went to this other job, and again, I was experiencing problems. And of course, I went back to Rabbi Kimmel, and I spoke to him about it, and it was quite uncanny. He was able to zero in exactly what the problem was.
Was he like he saw what was going on the job?
Yeah, and it was like, wow. And I was like, and I knew what the problem was, but I wasn't, for some reason, you know it in the back of your mind, but he was able to crystallize the problem. And the worst part of it all throughout this situation, the previous situation, I was blaming myself. I said, maybe I should have said this, I should have said that. You know how does people second guess themselves. And he said, that's absolutely not the case over here. This is a part of your ticket, this is a part of your roadmap that you have to follow. Okay, fine, I did whatever I had to do. And I found another job after that job. And then it tanked. After 2 weeks, the man just laid me off cold-heartedly, Erev Shabbos. 10 minutes before Shabbos, I got an email. But this time around, when I got laid off, I was angry, I was hurt. I did shed a tear here and there, but it was not the same type of feeling of distress. So I didn't even call Rabbi Kimmel yet. I didn't say anything to him. I just said, we're going to get through this. That next week, Hashem was watching me. It was unbelievable. Every single day I was on an interview.
Wow.
4 interviews that week. The following Sunday I interviewed with the last job that I was at. I was hired that following Monday. So Baruch Hashem, all I was out of work was for a week, and I was able to find a job that paid me much better than that previous job. So I'm working at this current job now, and of course I'm having hiccups again, and I realize that this is a test. Hashem is testing me, and it's all a part of the way things go in life. And I went to see Rabbi Kimmel again to touch base with him, and of course the office was wonderful. They're always following up. They're chasing me. I'm never chasing them. They always make me feel good that they're caring about me. So I walked in, and I told Rabbi Kimmel what's going on, and he told me that this place that I'm working at is a very, very good place, and I'm going to stay there. I'm going to be matzliach. And I was. The second I left and I started doing what he told me to do, to work on my emunah, which is something I've always had issues with, but I was working on it. Hashem made me into a different person, and at work I was perceived differently, and the whole atmosphere at work was totally different, to the point where, like, wow, I couldn't believe the amount of hatzlacha I was having, and Baruch Hashem that I continued to have. So all I could say is that Rabbi Kimmel never gave me anything to do that was outlandish, anything, out of the ordinary, out of the box, crazy, stand on one leg and jump around and roll in snow. Nothing like that.
Right.
Plain, simple, basic stuff that everybody knows.
Like tefillah.
Like tefillah. He checked my tefillin. There were problems with my tefillin. There were problems with my mezuzah. There was a problem with my Amunah, vis-a-vis not learning enough Svarim on Amunah, so he told me to do the Garden of Amunah, which is fantastic. He told me to focus on Pirkei Avos. He told me what to buy. He gave me health advice. He told me how to relax, how to deal with certain issues that were plaguing me, just like certain fears that he was able to help me pinpoint and how to get around them. So it has been an unbelievable experience, and I can't tell you enough that for yourself, It is the best investment of your time to just go and meet Rabbi Kimmel. It will allow you to come in contact with yourself and find yourself, because ultimately I think that if people don't find themselves, that's where the root of all suffering comes from, this doubt, because they don't know what's going on in themselves. And you need help to be able to find that in yourself. And I am privileged to continue to have this wonderful relationship, and I hope to have many, many more years of this relationship.
That's very good. One thing you mentioned right at the beginning, how afraid you were to go in because he was going to see everything, Avera that you did.
Right, because he'd always hear these stories. He walked into such and such, and he said, Russia, leave, you're doing these Averas. You know, because in my mind, that was the way I was always preconditioned and pre-programmed. And it was absolutely not the case. It was so the opposite. I was like amazed.
We had a brother, Richard, Yisroel, I'm sorry, God forbid, Yisroel Yitzchak ben Reza Rachel and Don, and he passed away in 2005. And it was tragic, it was sudden, it was unexpected, and it happened. And Alan Spiegel, who knew about Asher Spiegel, knew about it, and at that point he was already working with his brother, but still in touch with us. And about a year later, our doctor, David Sherman, great doctor, cardiologist, Columbia, he said to my brother Gary, your brother Richard was supposed to get, bypass surgery, and he just didn't get it done. And I'm not asking you, I'm telling you, you got to get it done. So we tried to figure out the proper time for him to get it done. And whether it was August or whatever, we decided that him going through the holidays, Rosh Hashanah and Yom Kippur, it would be better for him to be in health or whatever way he was functioning now, instead of going through surgery and having to go through recovery during that, so that we could really get a good davening in. So we go through the davening, and before Rosh Hashanah, we know that in between Rosh Hashanah and Yom Kippur, we know that the surgery is going to be literally the day after Yom Kippur. And it was pretty serious. It was five bypasses, quintuple bypass. We're all so slender, and we were concerned that this was going to be a serious surgery given certain circumstances, and we wanted some extra chizuk. And so we were davening, talking to different people, and at one point, I said to Gary, you should go find that rabbi that Alan was talking to, and go get a bracha from him, and go talk to him before you go to the surgery. Let's just get like any kind of extra chizuk we can get. And so I called up Alan Asher, and I said, I just need you to call this rabbi, and I need you to get Gary in for a bracha. He's having surgery. Didn't say what kind of surgery. Didn't say anything else. But can you get him in? So Asher calls me back. He says, I called up the rabbi. I called him up. Just show up, go to the place, and they'll make sure you get in. And I'm going to tell the pieces that I remember, but then I'm going to give it to Gary Yerachmel Shlomo ben Reza Rachel, who is alive and well and will live till 120. Amen. And so Alan calls me up, and Gary and my brother Stewie are in the car. And I say to him, listen, I just got to Alan. Go to Brooklyn. Go to this place, go to the rabbi, get a bracha. We need any extra chizuk we can get, blah, blah, blah. And, they were like, all right, whatever. So they get to the rabbi's place, and it's packed because it's Rosh Hashanah Yom Kippur. And there's a lot of people, and a lot of people waiting. And at one point, my brother was like, you know what? He calls me up, he goes, listen, Lisa, I'm just going to just leave him a check and give him my name and ask him for a bracha and just do it. And I said, well, I really think you should get the bracha. And he goes, you know what, there's so many people here, it's just not going to happen. So let me just leave the thing. And my brother Stewie has the patience of a flea. And so he was like, let's get out of here. So Gary, from my recollection, went over to you, now that we know that you're the rabbi, which is amazing, right, and said, listen, here's a check. We just want to give you our name and get a bracha. And, just tell the rabbi I'm going for surgery and so on and so forth. But you apparently knew why Asher called you. Not why, what surgery, but
I knew it was a serious surgery.
And you said, absolutely not. You cannot leave. You're here for a bracha. You're having surgery. Asher said it's important. You have to get into the rabbi. And I'm not taking your money. It's not about the money. It's about a bracha, and that's what you need. And And he kind of said, all right. And apparently you kind of pushed him ahead of everybody else. And everybody's like, why is he going ahead of us? We've been waiting. And
I used to get killed for that.
And at that point, I don't think my brother Stewie went in with him, but Gary went in, and the rest is now Gary.
I'm just everyone's in it still. I'm just moving it more to him.
Well, first of all, I want to correct one thing you said. What happened was I was not feeling anything in New York, and when my brother passed away, I said to my sister, I said, I want to go to Israel and do certain Kaddish and prayers in Israel. And in Jerusalem, going up the hills, I suddenly felt difficulty in climbing. And it was then that I went to the doctor. And it was then, at that point, he said that I had to go in and determine what was going on. But the truth was I wasn't feeling anything in New York, and it was only, I think it was ironic that I went to do prayers for my brother, and because of that I basically got saved, because this could have just all erupted without knowing, and I could have been one of those statistics, we don't know what happened, he just died. So at that point, Lisa's correct with the rest. They did the angiogram first, which then they said it was 5 valves closed, and I had to make a decision. We made the decision that it was at the end of the summer, as we decided we'll go through Rosh Hashanah and Yom Kippur, and then right after that go into surgery. I'm sorry. So at that point, Elise arranged for the meeting, and I hesitated because I didn't know what to believe, not believe, but I do believe in going to holy sites and praying, and I do believe that there is some intermediary power, a person holier or more spiritual. So that concept didn't bother me. So basically I went in not knowing what to expect. But I was really taken back by the fact that within a minute, the rabbi already told me things that I hadn't said to anybody. In particular, he had said to me that in the room, my father, and then he wasn't sure another spirit, but... No, well, I'm just going to throw, because to remember, what Gary shared after, who's choking, is that he was sitting there, and that first the rabbi said, you are having surgery and it's here, right. And that, it's something, Gary hadn't said anything about the surgery, and then he kept saying, well, what's your name, and what's your Hebrew name, and he kept saying, Yerachmel Shlomo ben Rezer Rachel, or Rachel, and the rabbi kept saying back to him, Yerachmel Shlomo ben Rivka. And he kept saying the name Rivka, not Rachel, which was the wrong name. Right. So my brother kept saying to him, it's Rivka, it's Rachel, not Rivka. And the rabbi at that point was like, I don't know why Rivka keeps coming in. Like, is there somebody else connected to Rivka? And I don't know why it's coming up. And then that's when all of a sudden he said, there are 2 spirits in the room. And one of them is Don, which is my father's name. And the other one is connected to Rivka, and then he asked you, he said something like, who would be connected to Rivka, and then did he say Richard's name? Did he say Yitzchak? I said to him, my brother's name is Yitzchak, and he says, oh, that's who it is. He says, your father and brother are here, and they both went through heart attacks. He said, so what he said was, I see that they went through the same thing you're going through, and they're coming to give you chizuk that everything will be okay. So that really took me to another level. And at that point he said, I see you're also very... Now this I had said to nobody, not even to my sister. He said, I see you're very afraid that when you close your eyes, you're not going to wake up. And that was my big thing about the heart surgery, because they put you out on anesthesia, and with my overweight and just feeling like everybody in my family died of heart attacks, that I just wouldn't come out of it. So he says, I
Plus,
see.
also, the other thing is the surgery as a kid, where you didn't wake up.
Right, and the anesthesia, it was just very frightening to me. So he said, I see, and he pauses for a minute and he goes, when you wake up, you'll have 3 people over you. I see that you will not only be walking, but you will be running. And he said, at first, the first few days will be difficult, and then you're going to go through 40 days that is going to be difficult, and then everything's going to be fine. And exactly that happened. When I woke up, I looked up and there were 3 people over me. I did have a rough recovery.
Very rough.
The first time they said the fluid hadn't totally gone out of my chest area, and because the heart was pumping extra hard, they had to redo a surgery and drain me. And then, to make things worse, I got an infection, which is very bad news in a heart situation, and they had to put me in isolation. And at first it was not good, and then they gave me a super antibiotic, and everything started working. And finally, fast forward, when I finished, I looked at the time and I started counting the days, and when I realized my departure date, it was exactly 40 days.
Wow.
And suddenly I said to my sister, I said, I can't believe this. Everything Rabbi Kimmel said exactly happened.
I'll give you an example. I drive on the road a lot.
Right.
He gave me a command, not that he wants to advertise it.
Right.
I told him that I get pulled over a lot, I get tickets. I couldn't take it anymore.
Right.
He wrote, I was Friday in his house. I think you were there.
I think so. Yes.
He took a piece of paper, he wrote up a command, he says, Rafi, put it in your glove compartment, and that's it. Just leave it there. And I could say I had a Suburban then. As long as I drove that Suburban, I did not get a ticket. I got pulled over a couple of times.
Right.
And weird things happened. The cop tells me, okay, it's 4 o'clock in the morning, where's he going?
Right.
I gotta go now. And he left. And I had like a couple machine stories. The cop would say like, I was doing like, let's say I was doing one time, I was pulled over doing 90 in a 50 zone. It was late at night, cop pulls me over. He says, okay, I'm going to give you a brake light ticket out of nowhere. I didn't ask him, I didn't plead with him. He said, okay, I did something wrong, give me a ticket. I was like, yeah, I did it.
Right.
I didn't know what it is. And you should know, when I stopped, I gave up the Suburban, and somebody else was driving it for a while. I didn't have my Kamaya. And I was getting like that week or so, whatever, a month, I was getting a couple of tickets. And I asked the rabbi, what's going on? Like,
right.
Not like I had Thomas or something, I just wanted to know what's doing. And he says, where's that Kamaya that I gave you? So I said, I left in the Suburban, I don't drive it anymore. So he says, put it in your pocket right now. Which I actually have it here.
Oh, okay.
I carried it around with me.
He gave you another one to put No, the same.
He told me the same one. It's right in here. His handwriting. I'll take it out for you. He doesn't let me open it up. I can just show you what it says on both sides.
I know what's in it because he told me what he wrote, but I can't tell you. Okay.
I don't know. He did not tell me what he wrote, so.
Okay.
I think it was a work.
But if you would know what he wrote, then you would be really flipped out. You would be really. It's an amazing thing what he wrote, and that it works. It's an amazing thing.
Like, you know, it's not something that he wants to advertise.
Right.
Go against the law, Mike and Maya, I'll help you. You know, like,
it's a protection. There's nothing. He never told you to go against the law.
No.
But he told you it's a protection.
It's a protection. He knows I'm on the road all day. When you're on the road all day, automatically you do.
Yeah, because you need to. Part of the job is to get things done. You're driving a truck.
Anything like that. It's with things like I had a crazy accident a couple of weeks ago. But nothing happened. I felt B'Shas accident. I felt like he's right there and pulled me out of the accident because the guy under me saw me. I walked out of the truck. Nothing happened. The truck was totaled completely.
Ooh. I
walked out of the truck. I said, "Gamzi l'toiv." That also comes from him.
Right.
Everything comes to the toiv. Everything is good. This is the reason why everything happens. I mean, I go on my whole life style. the way I changed, I became a calm person. I used to be a person. I used to lose my temper like Michigan.
Right.
The calm, everything I say, I give him the credit.
Well, he's working with you. That's
Well, he's working with me a lot. He puts in a lot of clothes, 100%. I give him the credit. I give him the credit for that. I give him the credit for my wife.